Hey guys, this is Shua with another tutorial. This time we're making Halloween masks. This is one of my favorite projects. You start with a styrofoam head, you glue it to a base of some sort just to give it some stability. Then you begin making coils with oil-based clay. And with the coils you want to crisscross them over the crown of the head and then wrap coil after coil all the way around the head until it's completely covered. Smooth it out, put a couple of semicircles in for eyes, and then you can use coils to make the lips, use coils to make the nose and the brow, any of the significant features, and then you pinch and push the coils onto the head so that they stick, and you begin to shape them in the way that you want. For eyelids, I usually cut really thin semicircles. I put one semicircle on the top and one semicircle on the bottom of the eye. Then it just begins a process of refinement. I usually use some tools to kind of smooth out the clay, get into some of the smaller areas, and this can be one of the kind of more time-consuming but enjoyable parts of the process, because this is when the face is really beginning to come out and you get to be super creative. When you're done with that, you want to cut some small pieces of plastic. You can also use like pieces of metal can or something like that, but plastic is less likely, less dangerous, I'll say. Then you want to split the head in half, front and back, and you make almost like peacock feathers of overlapping pieces of plastic around the front and the back. And in this video I skipped the plaster process because it's so messy, it's difficult to film. But here's some important things to remember. Before applying the plaster, coat your sculpture with a thin coat of petroleum jelly. I recommend using 7 to 8 layers of plaster. After the first 2 layers of just plaster, use plaster gauze for extra reinforcement. Leave about 10 minutes of setting time between your layers, and let the whole thing set for about 24 hours before you separate the 2 halves. You'll probably need a flathead screwdriver and a hammer to separate the 2 halves of your mold. Once you've gotten them separated, you can start to pull the oil-based clay out of the front half of your mold and the back half of your mold. This student, we actually put his plaster into a plastic container. Any areas like the eyes, the nose, or the mouth may need a little bit of scraping to get the clay out, but you want to make sure you get it all out. Then you take your 2 halves and wrap some tape around them so they hold in place really well together. Then get some liquid latex rubber, mix it with an acrylic paint that gives you the desired color of your mask, and it can be flesh tone or green or blue. And then you paint that liquid latex and acrylic paint mixture into your mold, and you want to make sure that you don't get it too thick at first. You want them to be really thin layers. You can use a heat gun to kind of speed up the drying process between layers, but you basically just go back and forth between layering it on, letting it dry, putting on another layer. You want to do about 7 to 8 layers of this. If you have any big gaps kind of between your 2 halves that you need to cover, I recommend taking some fabric, an absorbent fabric, dousing it in the liquid latex and acrylic paint mixture, and then using it almost like a bandage to cover over the gaps. And then you let all of that dry. Once you've gotten your 7 or 8 layers done, let it dry for about 24 hours, and then you should be able to come back and peel out your latex mask. So you can see these are the ones my kids did. They turned out pretty cool. Even the ones that aren't super refined, they might have had a rough time with one step of the process, they still look super creepy. In fact, almost like the rougher they are, the more creepy they look. So for Halloween, this is a perfect project that gives them sculpture, it gives them reverse molding, it gives them different materials and processes, and even if their mask doesn't come out perfect, it still works for the intended purpose. Okay, that's a little bit too freaky. We can go ahead and end on that note. Again, guys, thanks for watching. This was a project I did with my 7th graders. They did a fantastic job, and they got some excessively creepy masks to wear just in time for Halloween.